Hello and welcome to this new video. Today we are going to talk about whether and or if. Sometimes we may use whether and or we may use if. Sometimes only whether and sometimes only if. So we're going to analyze, the different cases so that you know exactly what to do when you want to use these grammar points. Okay, the pronunciation is like whether, okay? Like the weather, but the weather is a different spelling, okay? Weather, we're not talking about the weather when it rains. No, but this is the same pronunciation, okay? Weather, okay? So, yeah, okay, first case. We use it to express alternatives with whether when followed by an infinitive, okay? Alternatives. So we have choices, okay? So, and in this case, we have an infinitive. We don't know whether to go to the meeting or not, okay? You may say or not, or you don't have to say it. We don't know whether to go to the meeting. We don't know whether to call him now. We don't know whether to do it or not, okay? So this is basically the idea, okay? So if you are using infinitive, you cannot use if, okay? Now, to express alternatives with whether or if when followed by subject and verb. In this case, we don't know whether we'll go to the meeting or we don't know if we'll go to the meeting. So the same idea, exactly the same idea. If it's followed by subject and verb, then we may use one or the other, okay? One or the other. But remember, never do it if you have an infinitive, whether to do it, whether to run, whether to run a marathon or whatever, okay? Now, three, to express alternatives when whether is at the beginning, okay? When it's the beginning of the clause of the sentence, okay? Whether we go to the meeting or to the conference is the same, okay? Whether you do it or not is the same. Whether you call me or you don't call me is the same. Whether. All right. So in this case, we are going to use whether, okay? It's more correct to use whether in this case. After prepositions, we always use whether, okay? It depends on whether I get to the office uh, on time, okay? We were talking about whether to go to the office sometime, so when after preposition, always you're going to use whether, okay? When whether is followed directly by or not, okay? In this case, we have to use always whether. We have to decide whether or not we go to the meeting. We have to decide whether or not we take the bus, okay? We have to decide whether or not we invest money, okay? Now, case 6. With whether, we can use or not immediately after whether or at the end of the sentence. With if, we use or not in the end position, okay? This is a little confusing, okay? But you just have to read and analyze the different situations and you will see how you do it properly, okay? I called her to find out whether or not she was going to the meeting. So this is together, we are always going to use whether, okay? Whether or not. I called her to find out whether she was going to the meeting or not, or I call her, okay? I call Angela or I call her, okay? To find out if she was going to the party or to the meeting or not, okay? Whatever it is, okay? To the meeting or not. So you see, if you use or not at the end, whether and if are possible, but if whether or not, it has to be all together. Now, when we report a question, we use whether or if. Is the same, okay? She asked me whether I was going to the party or to the meeting or whatever, okay? She asked me if I was going to the meeting. Okay, so in this case, is the same. So you have to analyze the cases where is the same and the cases where is not the same. Okay, for example, number 8, only if can be used in the conditional sentences. And this is very important to remember. Okay, the first conditional, I'll come to the meeting, to your meeting if you need me. Okay, first conditional. Second conditional, what would he do if he lost his job? Okay, and that third conditional, if I had been at the meeting, we wouldn't have lost the client if. So in this case, we are always going to use, okay, we are going to use if, okay? So remember, sometimes you may use whether, sometimes you may use if, and sometimes you may use indistinctively whether and or if. So you just have to analyze, okay? Create your own situations. You have here 8 different scenarios. You have 8 different scenarios, and if you repeat, you do a couple of examples with each scenario, that will help you to memorize the different scenarios, and then you'll be able to use it in the conversation soon. Okay, so I think this is all for today. Thanks very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.